I
There's
will
many
say one of the
options on
nice
table.
things about shaving your head very low is whenever you're trying to shave your head, I found that actually in a few years I might be a decent candidate for like a Bosley or something, because the way that they do some of like the hair replacement is they take follicles from like the back of your head and they move it to like the parts that you're having issues with on top. There is a spot on the back, like middle of my head, that is so thick that I like Molly and I combined have a really hard time shaving my head like to the skin, whatever, like really far down, because the hair is just so thick in this one section. And it makes me really happy because it's like, well, one day if I decide I want to spend $20,000 to try to get, you know, like a Bosley hair follicle, whatever replacement, I have the extra follicles, and I could probably give some to some other people too, because there are so many extra follicles back
Is that
there.
not butt hairs? I always thought that was like butt hairs. Is that not how they do that? Or like, yeah, butt hairs is funny, but like leg hairs, is that not?
That was not discussed. So I actually went in to, I guess a lot of people probably don't know this unless you guys have had a consult or you're balding. I went into a Bosley consult when I was around like in college, because I was already starting to like have a bald patch in the back, like cowlick area of my hair. And one, they actually won't even consider doing like a hair replacement until you're like in your mid 30s, because they want to make sure like your balding pattern's fully established and it's not like you're going to go in every year for a surgery. So they wouldn't even, they were like, okay, well, we can talk, but like till you're like 35 or 40, we're not going to be able to do anything. But two, no, they discussed taking bits from the back of my head. So there were two options. There was one where they like, I don't know if this also comes from your scalp, but there was like one where they take like actual strips of like hair and skin or something and move it. And like that sounded awful, but that was the cheaper option. The other option was follicle replacement, where they go and they like remove follicles from one spot and just move it to where you need it throughout the top of your head.
Horrible.
And that was the one I was more interested in, but it was a lot more expensive.
I just have to ask, are they swapping the patches of skin, or do you just not have skin whenever they take the skin?
It's been a long time, and
I feel like that concerns me.
Yeah, as soon as they described kind of like what that was, I kind of discounted ever going that route at all.
Yeah.
So I didn't look into it any more than what they described as just hair strips being moved around.
So you're saying if I ever see a 40-year-old man with big patches of raw exposed
Skin,
dermis
hair.
on the back of his calves,
Yeah,
it's because his calf hair is now on his head and he did the cheap one. So I should call him a cheapskate
and
for being a cheap
but we're
piece
still
of
talking
garbage.
thousands of dollars, but
I
cheaper
would
than
pay
like
someone thousands of dollars to peel me like an orange.
thousands of dollars to peel you like an orange, and
Really?
tens of thousands to follicle replace.
You're really selling it, Wayne.
There's a reason I just finally shaved my head and kept it shaved. One, I'm not 35, and two,
I don't know, the lengths that people are willing to go to keep hair is awfully extraordinary to me, because I feel like someday, technologically speaking, someday there'll be some like super Rogaine that you just blast on your head, and you got to be real careful, because if you get it on your forehead, hair will just start growing magically. But I feel like that's just going to happen someday, and you know, all this sprint to do whatever you can, taking hair from anywhere on your body just to make it look like you have natural hair on your head is like, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just like, whereas, you know, just the bald look is a good look. Like, it's not a bad look in any way. Wade, you got a good look. Like, you got an even head. It looks good on you. It fits. And I think pretty much anyone that just decides to go, it works, you know? Then you can tattoo the top of your head or something. Like, get some
I'm not saying that
designs.
I want to be bald. I totally acknowledge that, like, that's disappointing, because it feels like you don't look like you used to. And so it changes you. But, like, everyone changes as they age. Like, I'm sure that that's maybe hard to cope with, as you know, your look changes and you're like, oh no, I'm not. But like that, I'm with you, Mark. I'm shocked at how far people are willing to go, how much money people are willing to spend. Like, yeah, I would cut my hair or shave my hair in a way so that I looked, you know, proportional, and so it looked good. But like, bald is a good look depending on your face proportions. Maybe you need to grow a beard, who knows? There are lots of ways you can create a decent look without spending half your life savings on some horrific sounding hair follicle surgery thing. It's and like you can do what you want. I don't judge anyone who does that either. It's just crazy. I don't understand that instinct either.
Yeah.
So,
oh,
go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna say, I don't understand how people who get that follicle surgery, other people can hear about them and be like, oh, cool, that's good for you. But if someone wears like a toupee or a wig, they get laughed at. It's like it's the same thing functionally. It is exactly the same.
Permanent toupee. It's
yeah, exactly. You just super glue that shit on and there you go. Or get it sewed into your head, like whatever. Like do what you want. But at the same time, it's like, why is one accepted and one isn't?
Because people are naturally just assholes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, pretty much. Isn't that the answer to everything?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. As someone who's gone through balding, and I started at a relatively youngish age, I think. I mean, people obviously, there were people in high school that had their heads fully shaved and stuff that were already having issues. But like, I started thinning out in the back of my head even in high school. Because for a guy, I actually developed pretty young. I was like over 6 feet in middle school. I didn't grow a whole lot after that, but the balding pattern definitely started when I was still a teenager. And there's definitely something to be said. Like I don't doubt. I don't feel like that someone's stupid for wanting to spend thousands of dollars on hair replacement stuff like that. Because I looked into it. I really did. I couldn't have afforded that in college. But there's something about self-confidence, and when you're balding, like self-confidence is so hard as it is. But every day you look in the mirror and you see your hairline, like, oh man, that looks a little bit further back. Or you go to like itch the back of your head and like you're scratching, and then all of a sudden you feel a spot that like, oh, that's just part of my scalp. Where's my hair? And you get a mirror and you look, and there's just like, oh god, look how thin, look how awful that looks. And I don't know, when you're worried about like finding a life partner and you're single and stuff, and it's like you're already just so worried about everything about your personality and like, what's wrong with me? Will anyone ever be able to like me? Those questions of self-doubt. And then having it to where the first thing you see every day when you look in the mirror and like before you go to bed is just imperfections on you getting worse and worse, and just wanting to find some way to control it and feel better. That's really tough. In high school, college, and shortly, after college, up to the point where I shaved my head, one of my biggest issues with myself was every time I looked in the mirror, I hated what I saw with my hairline receding, and like I wanted to do anything to try to fix it. So I didn't quite get to the point where I was doing like comb overs or anything, but like with my hairline receding in the corners, like the right and left sides of my forehead, I started like the front of my hair, I would kind of like flip up a little bit and kind of like comb my hair back on top, so that way it wasn't hanging over my forehead in the middle and then just super showing how much it receded in the back. So I definitely, there were things I was doing where it was like, okay, how do I make it to where my hairline's receding doesn't show up so much? And that's not something you're actively like, oh, let me just have a comb over. But I see where it gets there, because little by little, each and every day, as it slowly recedes, you're trying to find different ways to compensate. And some days are better than others. And then, like I said, luckily for me, I ended up just shaving my head finally, and I really enjoy that look. But God, it is a tough battle, and it's tough to have self-confidence. And being on camera every day, it's like after I chipped my tooth, I was like, oh God, can I get this fixed right away? Or I have to go on camera with a chipped tooth. But going on camera every day, it's like, okay, well, as long as I don't look down, whatever I do during this playthrough, don't look down. Today's a bad hair day. Like, those thoughts are constantly in your head. And yeah, if there's a way to fix it, if it involves spending a lot of money or shaving your head or whatever, but shaving your head for some reason, I don't know what it is, but there's like a stigma, I think, whenever you're balding about having to shave your head. It's like admitting defeat or something. And it's just like, I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, I will find a way to keep my hair, because that is how I've always seen me. I'm a person with curly hair. And I don't know, it was really tough to finally make the decision. But literally the moment I did it, like Jesse came over and helped shave my head. I made a video for it. The moment I did it and I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh, thank God. I don't look terrible. It's the best decision I made. I encourage my audience, like people that are going through it, like try it, shave your head, see what it's like. It's so scary. It is terrifying to do, but like it's the best self-confidence boosting thing I have done for myself probably ever. Was just finally giving in and shaving my head.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mark relates to this because he's always been so handsome and tall and muscular, but it's hearing you talk about that is really interesting, because not to equate these things at all, but you guys have known me long enough, and I can tell you, before you knew me, I was the same. I was always like the fat kid growing up, right? And now I'm the fat man. Like, I'm just a big person, but I'm also overweight, and I feel I struggled with that when I was younger, when I was a kid, and I felt like, I guess the things that people said to me and thought openly about me bothered me. And there was some threshold, and I don't know what it is, and I wish like this was something you could teach people or demonstrate to people. There was some point where my feeling about it went from insecurity about what other people thought or felt to just like some sort of very stoic acceptance of like, I look how I look. There's no hiding how big I am. If we're at a pool, I don't want to be that person who's like, oh, I'm going to swim with my shirt on because then they won't see. Like, I don't want to break it. I don't want to be the one to break the bad news to you, other fat people. Swimming with your shirt on does not conceal in any way how overweight you are or how your body looks. But it's all like I guess I wish I could tell people how maybe it's my privilege of, I'm a guy, so people don't judge my looks as harshly, and I come from a very nice background, so I didn't have it as bad as a lot of people probably have or do right now. But like something very liberating about literally just not even giving a single fuck about what people think about me is like, I go on camera and I look like a mess. I go on camera and I see my face and I see my chin, or the quarantine has not been good for my weight. I've gained a bunch of weight, which is impressive because I was already pretty big. But like, I wish there was a way for more people to feel that, because I feel like more people probably identify with you, Wade. I think people think a lot about how they see themselves in the mirror, how other people see them every day in the world. And like, I've talked with a lot of friends about this too, in other, personal ways. It's hard to try and deal with the fact that people are going to be judgmental douchebags, and that impedes on how you see yourself. That shapes how you see yourself, especially for women in this world. I've talked with Mandy about this. It's not even like overt, but in overt and covert ways, society implants this into women that like your self-worth is tied to how you look. And so how you present yourself, how you look, how much you weigh, how your hair looks, or whatever, like all of that is tied to your level of self-confidence. But I don't know how to get there, but it's possible to literally find your self-confidence and sincerely convince yourself that you're not as hideous as everyone wants you to think you are, or that you think you are, that human bodies in general, I think, are really beautiful. They're not all like really attractive to me necessarily, but it's interesting. Humans are fascinatingly different. Even a huge, super hairy, heavy-set, middle-aged guy, I guess other people do maybe. I don't think there's anything repulsive about that. I don't think there's anything shameful or disgusting about that. It's fascinating. You are who you are. Your body tells the story of your life. And I have no idea how to impart this to people. What I'm saying now is not going to change how insecure anyone out there feels. But this is such a big thing in society. I don't understand why self-worth and your appearance are so closely tied together. And I wish that wasn't a thing, because I think it really torments a lot of people. I think people get really tormented by their weight, or by what clothes they can afford or have, or their parents get for them or whatever, or any number of things. And that's just terrible. Your body is, it represents your life. It represents your story. Your body looks the way it does because of your parents and because of what you've been through and where you've been. And it's beautiful to me. It's fascinating. And I guess my point is, I don't hate yourself. That's terrible, especially for how you look.
Yeah.
Hate yourself if you're like some sort of egotistical douchebag who's been handsome his entire life and thinks he can do a Scottish accent. But like, I don't know. I'm going.